Hello, welcome everyone to Middle Manager Mastery Podcast. I'm Shruti Rustagi, your host. And today with me, I have Manish Dukanya. Manish, welcome.
Thank you, Shruti. Good
Of
morning to you.
course. Thank you, and good evening to you. So, Manish Dukanya, our guest for today, brings to the table his extensive experience in business development, M&A, and corporate strategy. He has worked across geographies and businesses and has a proven track record of driving financial growth and operational excellence in large-scale organizations. He is a strategic thinker with a solution-oriented approach. He's currently a part of the Risk Committee and Business Review Council for Aditya Birla Group, one of the biggest diversified conglomerates in India. And personally, I have had the privilege of working with Manish and thinking through some very interesting things to expand the aluminum business in Aditya Birla Group. So, welcome to Middle Manager Mastery, Manish.
Thank you.
So, Manish, today we are going to start discussing a little bit about one of the topics that many middle managers we see struggle with, which is executive presence. Now, what I want to start with is what exactly is executive presence? And when I think about it, in my head, it's almost like when some people walk into a room, everything shifts before they even say a word. So, how would you think about executive presence?
Shruti, when we talk in the context of middle managers, so the way I see it, so they are our eyes and ears on the ground.
Hmm.
So they are the one who have the highest proximity to the operations. So they are the one who are able to spot the gaps before they scale up, and done well, they can move from being the scorekeepers to the influencer of the business decisions. I'll give you
Mm.
an example in one of our US businesses. So while we were getting the volumes, we were not getting the margins. The volumes were driven by low margin products. And this was something which the finance team spotted early, laid it out in their analytics. While it was simple, but it was powerful that we need to move towards a higher contribution product. So, and when this was executed, there were some dip in the volume for a couple of months, but by the end of the quarter, things have started catching up. And the contribution
Mm.
margin was significantly up. So this is
Mm.
something which is the value which the middle managers bring to the table. And this is earned through their clarity and conviction. So this is my thought with respect to the middle managers. And on another bit there, if I may add, so we know strategy is really binary, more so in this new world, right? And hence the trade-off, the sequencing, the course correction, the so the middle managers are the at the intersection of the numbers and execution. So they kind of become the early warnings, system for the organization. So their role becomes very important if played in the right spirit.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I really like how you said that they should focus on becoming influencers from scorekeepers. That's a very powerful shift. That is very, very powerful, Manish. How would you sort of tell them, or what would your strategy be to coach somebody like that and tell them about holding the room while they feel so rattled?
No, absolutely. See, I mean, while we may be from a domain, a finance, chart, a sales. See, the key is to speak the language of business. If
Mm.
I am, if I hold on to my domain and if I continue to be a finance manager, I would be talking about numbers, but the numbers would not translate into the business. So it is
Hmm.
important to speak the language of business, to begin with. That kind of that is the starting point. Now, the next point, of course, which comes to my mind is the broad perspective, getting width, insights, you know, getting in external benchmarks, the market context, then which brings in kind of the important external perspective into the discussion. So that is the other bit. And then bringing in complementary skills, offering support with respect to execution, bold bets while covering the risk, being mindful of the risk in terms of hedging strategy, maybe. So these things help get these things kind of make us the co-owners of the outcomes and not just reviewer of the results.
Hmm. Hmm. So I think if I were to extend what you were saying, if there's something like that that comes up, I think the best idea is to just say, oh, that's a new perspective. I hadn't thought of it. Let me take it back and follow up instead of getting rattled because everybody's there to support the business. That's the common objective. And keeping that in mind, that executive leadership is also just looking for ways to help them and progress the business, I think is the critical piece to keep in mind for managers, right?
Absolutely.
Many people, when they move into middle management, they are moving from highly executing roles. Like they have been doing, going deep into the details. That's what has gotten them this far, right? So they have been the people who are experts in their fields. And now, as you're saying, right, they need to get a broader perspective, they need to become influencers. How do you think about that? So they are too much into every detail, and that's exactly what's holding the managers back. How do you think you communicate at a leadership level then without losing their credibility?
See, in the context of
Hmm.
middle managers in finance, they are often
Yeah.
construed as auditors, right? A gate
Yeah.
policing, a gatekeeping. So that is something that, that our ability to bring in that clarity, that conviction, uh, that perspective, which is something that is earned through the work that we do. That is something we have to, being enablers, will help us get out of that gatekeeper kind of a tagline. Yeah.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
obviously, see, finance managers also in the middle have to grapple with high volume of transactional work. The
Yeah.
volume is there. So it's about balancing, right? So we have to find balancing not just in our day-to-day work, but also with various stakeholders. So that is the key, stepping in where the delegation breaks down, ensuring delivery on the day-to-day operational goals. So those are the things which kind of help us, bridge that gap. Or, so that is what supports us in, finding the right credibility and the, acceptance within the organization.
Makes sense. How do we inculcate this sense of high agency, do you think?
Yeah.
Is there a way?
So absolutely. And the most important element there is from managing tasks to managing outcomes. That completely changes the game. So then the decisions are anchored in the outcome, not in the activity, working with
That
the
is
end
very
objective in
powerful.
mind,
Yeah.
willing to fail, fail quickly. This is something which is very close to my heart, so yeah. I mean, so these are the things, ability to say no.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
so, when we know something, when we see something that is not working, our ability to defer, say no without damaging, the collaboration is very important. So this is what helps, achieve the right outcomes.
That makes sense. And I really like the way you put it that how you sort of own outcomes or manage outcomes versus just the tasks, because then the end objective is what's important. And in order to do that, you laid out a few other things which were really interesting, which is your ability to say no to things which are not adding up to the objective, your ability to push back, also look at the bigger picture. I think that's one of the critical elements. That is how you would look at the end objective. All of that makes a lot of sense. You also something,
Just to add, and that
yeah.
to create clarity within the team, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
It helps. Otherwise, it's always we are chasing something. So ability to make things clear, bring more. I mean, ambiguity has helped no one.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
And are there ways, Manish, that somebody can bring more clarity, like sustained ways, mechanisms, or forcing functions that you have seen work?
No, absolutely. So that is exactly the discussion, right? See the big picture, work with end objective in mind, willingness to fail fast. So those are the things which absolutely help in that, in that
Clarity.
direction.
Got it. And so maybe things like communicating often could bring clarity that this is the objective. So everybody is aligned, making sure everyone is on the same page and they are looking at the objective the same way. Because what I've also seen is oftentimes people have their vested interests. And so, especially when these people are working across multiple functions, it becomes immensely important to get everybody on the same page. That this is what we are striving towards, and so how everybody's work contributes. Right. No, that makes sense. Makes sense. Let me ask you a flip side of this. People we've seen with very high agency, of course. How about have you seen situations where, and you mentioned delegation, right, in the middle? So you delegated something to someone, you almost like you gave them some space to run, but then it completely blew up because not all the time are the people absolutely ready to take on the whole mantle. Any situations or any incidents that come to mind, and how did you manage that?
Sure, it happens, right? If that is not happening, clearly we are not taking enough risks. We are not
Yes.
taking enough happen. We had a large event wherein we had all the dealers, the important customers of the organization come in, and we had planned it in a certain manner. And for whatever reasons, things did not, there were challenges, right? So the logistics was not working out. The certificates and the trophies have not reached the venue. So, all kinds of multiple kinds of challenges, but then team came together and, obviously it was about stretching and, stretching our means and, you know, it had, and making things happen. So it worked, people who stood up and filled in for, the team members who worked through the night, made things happen. So sure. Yeah. Those are the instances where we have to stand up and, roll up our sleeves and make things happen.
Makes sense. So what I'm hearing is in certain cases when it's too crucial, the whole team would jump in. There might also be times where you may want to take that as a coaching moment. So if something's not going well, but you may want to think of it like you don't want to jump in and fight the fire for them, but teach them how to fight the fire. And so, how do you think about those two situations differently, Manish? Because not always will it be so critical for the team to jump in and save the day. Like this was like a live event, so you didn't have an option. But there might be situations where it's not like immediate fire, and so, how do you think of these two differently? Makes perfect sense, Manish. And on that note, thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you, and especially talking about the domain of finance because we don't really talk much about that. It's usually operational pieces that we often talk about. So, thank you so much.
No, so this was great, great connecting. Appreciate. Thank you so much. Really, enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much.
Same here. All right. We'll
All
see
right.
you. Bye.
Good.